Nice.
Well, somewhat serendipitous, but in the context of this debate on a rule about other bills, it seems we've come to some agreement, it appears to me, with the American people, 81% of whom believe that all of the tapes should be released. It seems like we've come to some agreement that we'd all be better off if we get to the bottom of the truth and all of the truth comes out and all of the tapes come out so that no one side can distort what actually happened that day. And then let the American people decide. So I will not. The gentleman's time's expired. So Senate, in the interest of transparency and in the interest of getting back to the subject matter at hand, which are 3 bills covered by this rule, I want to talk about Senate Bill 619, which is so important. It's transparency, and it's the transparency that the American people deserve. It passed by unanimous consent in the Senate. Even though it seems like there's some opposition on the other side, I suspect we're going to get a lot of votes from Democrats on Senate Bill 619. And I think it's important to go on the record for people to say whether or not for elected representatives to say whether or not they believe their constituents are entitled to the truth which our government possesses, or at least information that they possess that would help somebody come to a conclusion on what the origins of this virus were and did they come from Wuhan. So the president could do this at any time. He could have done it at any time in the past 2 years. He hasn't done it. It's time to put him on the spot and say, you either veto this, and I suspect we could overcome his veto, but you either veto this or you release that information that you've withheld from the American public for 2 years, which is too long. Next, I want to talk about the Waters of the U.S. rule. Why is this timely? Because on March 20th, this goes into effect. That's why it is so urgent to repeal the 2023 Waters of the U.S. rule. Was it written? These are laws. Were they written by lawmakers? No. Our founding fathers created 3 branches of government. You've got the executive branch, which enforces laws. You've got the judicial branch, which resolves disputes. And you've got the legislative branch, which is supposed to make the laws. Yet, here we sit, abdicating that authority, that responsibility. You could delegate authority. You can't delegate responsibility. We have a responsibility to the American people to make sure that these laws are concise, that they don't change on the whim of an executive who gets in the White House, that they are not onerous, and that they have their intended effect, and that they are applied uniformly across the country. Yet we have abdicated that responsibility, but we will take that responsibility back by the passage of this rule and the subsequent legislation to repeal the Waters of the U.S. 2023 by Joe Biden. The American people deserve that. And finally, I want to close by talking about H.R. 140. This is a bill that went through regular order. What a wonderful thing. We've talked about it so much. It's a bill that covers one topic only. We've talked about that so much. And here we are. And we've even got a chance, even though it was amended in the committee, we've got a chance to amend it here on the floor, to perfect it even more for members who aren't members of that committee. Are these amendments that are not germane? Are these the kind of amendments that the American people hate, where you offer an amendment and you stick something into a bill that's completely unrelated to it? No, every one of these amendments is germane to this bill. We have made sure of that in the Rules Committee. I will not yield. The gentleman's time's expired, and he serves on the Rules Committee. And he had plenty of time to voice his concerns there. So we've got a lot of amendments that are great. I think they'll improve the bill. But what's most important is people have a chance to have their point made and to get a vote on this. So finally, I want to talk about what H.R. 140 would fix. It would fix this loophole that they think they've constructed that allows the federal government to violate the Constitution. Obviously, the federal agents can't take away your First Amendment rights, and obviously, social media companies aren't subject. The Constitution wasn't meant to bind them. It was meant to bind the administration. And what we have is a loophole where the administration leans on a social media company that they are paying money to. Millions of dollars have gone to these social media companies from CDC, from FBI. So when they say, would you pretty please ban this user? Would you pretty please take down these posts or a whole series of these posts? The government doesn't get in line. They've got a back door that they can trot to every day and submit lists of people who they think should be banned because they don't like what they've said. This is dangerous to our republic. If the other side wants to call it a democracy, it's dangerous to the democracy, but this is a republic. Our government has built an elaborate but constitutionally unsound framework for violating these natural rights. As we've seen with the Twitter files, they boldly work in close cooperation with private sector actors who aren't subject to constitutional restrictions imposed on government by our founders. But they also claim foreign influence and national security, so they can target U.S. citizens and with agencies of the government under the military chain of command, whose missions are ostensibly directed at foreign actors who have no constitutional rights. Elected lawmakers be damned. Legions of government lawyers create shaky legal scaffolding and ad hoc doctrine to indemnify the actors within our government who eagerly exploit these loopholes. In this way, government actors can claim everything they do is illegal. They've got a bunch of lawyers to back. Oh, we didn't do anything illegal. It's all legal. Here, look at our doctrine. We've got, the lawyers have gone through it. It's all legal. Here's the problem. Much of what they do is unconstitutional. So whose job is it to resolve that difference? It's actually not the Supreme Court's job. We are entrusted with oversight. We all here swore an oath to the Constitution. And if we know that authorizations that we've made or that funding that we have appropriated has been twisted in a way to get around the Constitution or to drive through a loophole that some lawyers in the administrative branch have created, then it is our obligation. We owe it to the American people. We swore an oath to the Constitution to fix that. Not to make them go to court to get some remedy, but to fix it, to stop it in its tracks. H.R. 140, with its pending amendments, is a good down payment on that promise to the American people. And with that, I support this rule. I urge my colleagues to vote for it. And Madam Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time and move the previous question on the resolution as amended.